Hey, what's up? This is Chosen, and this video is going to be covering some news that we've gotten recently about Diablo Immortal. Finally, it was announced 2 years ago. We haven't really heard anything since, but it looks like alpha is on the way. So I'm going to get you all caught up and give you some context as to what we know about Diablo Immortal currently. So let's get into it. Alrighty, so first of all, as of recently, Blizzard or whatever, Diablo has created a new channel on YouTube called Diablo Immortal. At the time that I pulled it up, it's sitting at less than 200 subscribers, and they just released a couple new videos. You can see their Diablo Immortal cinematic announcement trailer, and then Diablo Immortal alpha developer update. So they uploaded 2 videos for this new channel. It's brand new. I'll link to it down below if you want to check it out. Okay, Diablo has been a huge part of my life. It's probably the game that I've spent the most or the second most hours of my life playing. Diablo 1 defined my childhood, basically. Loved it. Me and all my friends were playing Diablo 1 all the time. Diablo 2, not so much. I did play it a lot, but not like a ton, because it was during my StarCraft days, and that was definitely the game that I was most focused on was StarCraft. So Diablo 2 took kind of a back seat. I did play it. I beat it with all the classes. I know all the builds like hammered in and all the items and bosses and lore, but I wasn't as hardcore into Diablo 2 as I ended up getting into Diablo 3 after my StarCraft days. Was in one of the best clans in the world for 5 years, was grinding Diablo 3 day after day after day, played 17 or 18 seasons of it super actively. So I'm very into Diablo, and I'm going to try my best to give you some context into what we know so far about Diablo Immortal and what they have talked about in their release today. So first of all, what they basically are announcing is they're going to be opening a limited technical alpha, mainly in Australia. Maybe that's because they have the most stable servers in Australia or something, but yeah, they're calling it a limited technical alpha. It's going to be a small group of players. It's not a widespread mass player-based testing or anything, and they're mainly going to be doing early to mid-game testing of stability and performance. So they're going to be maxing out characters at level 45, and I believe they're going to give them access to Paragon leveling, which I will touch on here in a little bit. And Diablo Immortal, in terms of the Diablo lore and where it's going to fit in the storyline, it's actually going to take place between Diablo 2 and Diablo 3. So it's coming after Diablo 2 and before Diablo 3 in terms of the lore and the story and the quest line. And from what I'm gathering and the information we're hearing from them is that Diablo Immortal is going to have a little bit more side quests and optional things that you can do on your way through the story. Now, typically, Diablo games, Diablo 1, Diablo 2, Diablo 3, they have been opposite of like Oblivion, Skyrim, Fallout 4, these type of games where you have, I would say about 10% of the game's content is the main story, and then 90% of the game's content is the stuff you can do on the side, exploring caves and doing side quests and making friends in this village. It seems like 90% of those open world games are usually the stuff you can do on the side. Now with Diablo, it's usually the opposite. It's usually 90% of the quest of the story is just linear progression through the quests and to complete the story. But it looks like they're going to be adding a little bit more stuff on the side that you can do as an optional complementary piece to the main storyline. They also have been touching a little bit on how legendary gear will work in Diablo Immortal. It looks like legendary gear is going to be self-found, account bound. So that means, to me, I think they're going to have open trading for non-legendary items. If you want to get a head start, you've got a friend that's pretty well developed, you can get some really good rares or something from them to get you on your way. But in terms of getting those build defining meta type items, the legendaries, you're going to have to grind the game and find them yourself. It looks like as of now, legendary items are not going to be tradable, but the fact that they're that specific about legendary items not being tradable, it makes me think they're going to have open trade for other items and other resources in the game. And in terms of items, I think a big thing they talked about was this is going to be the first Diablo game that has upgradable items in terms of leveling up your items. I know a lot of people on my channel are Raid Shadow Legends players, and it's going to be kind of similar to that, where in Raid, you're upgrading a specific artifact from level 1 to level 4, and you roll a substat. Level 4 to level 8, you roll another substat. It looks like Diablo Immortal is going to be kind of going that route and adding that feature to their game as well in terms of investing into your best items and getting them upgraded. They're going to be doing this not with silver like in Raid Shadow Legends or not via some like gold coins or something. It's going to be based off of salvage materials. Like if you find trash gear, you're going to go to blacksmith, crunch it down, crunch it into salvage materials. You're going to use those salvage materials to upgrade your best pieces. So you're basically just going to be crunching your trash pieces to feed into your good pieces, to level them up from like 1 to level 2, level 3, level 4, level 5, and you're gonna unlock some substats and higher rolls based on upgrading your artifacts. That is big news because there has never been a mechanic like that for gear in Diablo, so that is something to definitely keep an eye on. And in this limited technical alpha, it looks like they're going to be allowing play for 4 of the 6 classes. I believe when Diablo Immortal launches, they're going to have 6 total classes, but in this technical alpha they're doing, it's going to be Barbarian, Monk, Demon Hunter, and Wizard. And something interesting about Diablo Immortal is you're going to be able to pick a male or female version of every single class. You could also do that in Diablo 3, which was the first time they allowed that. Like in Diablo 2, it was predetermined. The Barbarian was male, the Paladin was male, the Amazon was female. But in Diablo Immortal, you're going to have 2 options for every single class. You can be a male Barbarian or a female Barbarian, a male Wizard, a female Wizard. They're going to have that option available for all of the classes on launch. And another thing that Diablo 3 brought to the Diablo universe was a Paragon leveling system. So the way this worked was when you got to level 60, level 70, depending on which iteration of the game we're talking about, when you got to the max level, then you started acquiring experience for Paragon levels, and then those Paragon levels could be used to invest in your character to upgrade certain stats, like what were some of them? Cooldown reduction, or you could just do your base stats like strength, vitality, dexterity, and stuff. Crit rate, crit damage. There was all sorts of stuff you could upgrade with your Paragon points. But it looks like it's going to work a lot differently in Diablo Immortal. It's not just going to be stats to make your character better. It's actually going to be build defining and playstyle defining. So once you hit max level, now you get Paragon levels, and you can kind of choose a specialization. Do you want to be more of a support for your allies? Do you want to be more of a burst glass cannon damage dealer? Do you want to be more hybrid, like a healer, or like half and half, some DPS with some utility? Like your Paragon points are going to be where you pick the utility of your character and the play style you want to play after you hit max level. And Diablo Immortal is going to have what they're calling Elder Rifts. Now, if you played Diablo 3, this is basically going to be rifts and greater rifts crunched into one, but you're never going to need any keys. You can do these Elder Rifts, they're calling them, until the end of time, and there is going to be no energy mechanics. So you can go ahead and play Diablo Immortal all day, every day. If you've got free time, you can grind it out. You're not going to need keys or anything to do these Elder Rifts, but they are adding a resource called crests, which are used to add special effects to these Elder Rifts to give them special properties. It seems like it's random. It can make it either easier or harder, but what it is always going to do is make it more lucrative. So if you invest crests into an Elder Rift, it's going to make it more lucrative and then add randomized effects that are going to really throw you off in terms of how to prepare for that run. And then they did also touch on some of the financial parts of the game. And the way Diablo Immortal is going to be structured, it's going to be free to play. You're going to be able to download Diablo Immortal and play it for free without spending a penny. And they specifically said they will never charge for DLC or like an expansion pack. You are going to be able to play the game to its full extent at all times, all patches, all maintenance, completely free of charge. But obviously, the developer has to make money. Artists and coders and developers, all these people can't work for free. It's a job for them, and they need to earn money. So a game has to earn money, and the way they're going to be doing it is via the normal route that we're kind of seeing in mobile gaming right now, which is free to download, free to get in the door, free to start playing. But if you want to progress faster, there's going to be microtransactions available in-game. We didn't get a specific structure as to how that's going to work, so it's really hard to give you some input as to if I like how they're structuring it or not. But one thing they did make very clear is there's not going to be an energy mechanic. So somebody who's free to play and somebody who's a whale, they're both going to be able to play 10, 12 hours a day if they so wish. On a day off or something, they got some free time. Both players are going to be able to play as much as they want. But one thing they did mention specifically is there are going to be battle passes, which depending on who you ask, some gamers like battle passes, some gamers don't. It's definitely a pretty contentious topic in mobile gaming, and battle passes are really taking over. They're showing up in all sorts of different games across the mobile platform. But one thing I thought was super interesting is they did say there's going to be a monetization model for these crests. If you remember, I was telling you about crests. That is kind of the mapping utility to add randomized effects to your farming of those Elder Rifts. So that's interesting. I wonder how they're going to balance that out in terms of the free-to-play versus the whales. If you have whales that are, you know, just buying all these crests and cranking out these super lucrative maps, I don't know. I don't know how good it's going to be in terms of a monetization model for the game until we actually dive in and play it and see how it goes on launch. But that is kind of how it's gonna be the normal free-to-play with microtransactions in the game, and it's gonna be based around a battle pass and the mapping system of purchasing things to make your farming maps a little bit more lucrative is kind of the way that I'm understanding it in the current information that we have from them. So yeah, that is mostly what I'm gathering right now to keep you up to date on Diablo Immortal and portray to you what I know so far. Hopefully I did a good job and didn't forget anything in terms of what is out there to the public as of right now, but it sounds like we're going to be learning a lot about Diablo Immortal coming up soon, because once players dive in and start playing this alpha a lot, I'm sure there's going to be things coming out like which classes seem strong and which builds are cool and how the leveling works. So it should be an exciting time where we're learning a lot about a big game to hit the mobile market. It's been 2 years since Diablo Immortal was announced, and we haven't really heard anything since then, which is definitely wild. You would have expected to see a little bit more from Diablo Immortal in the past year or so. I mean, I get the first year after it's announced, maybe not hearing much, but the last year or so, it's really weird that we haven't heard anything until now. So that's a little bit concerning, is that maybe we're still a year or two away from Diablo Immortal coming out. So this thing could be 2022 maybe, until we see Diablo Immortal actually hit launch and be ready for live play. I don't know that. I'm just speculating. No one knows exactly when Diablo Immortal is going to launch. As far as I know, they haven't set a release date or anything like that. So anyway, that's going to do it for this one. And let me know what you think down in the comments about Diablo Immortal, if you're excited to try it out. And if you watch those videos, like the trailer and then the dev update, I would love to hear your input on what you think as well. So that's going to do it as always. Thank you for watching. Have a good rest of your day. Peace.